Good morning. I'm Dr. Manjabin Fatima. Today I'm taking microwave tubes. So starting from this, you can see in this diagram, these are the vacuum tubes, BJTs, MOSFETs, and now uh, in the coming years, the work is going on spintronics, biosensors, and different type of displays. In this, you can see the vacuum tube originated from 1906, and the work is going on this 1950s. The conventional vacuum tubes was completely explored from 1906 to 1950s, and the research also done for different temperature also. With the increase in the time period, the temperature, the effect of the increase in temperature is also seen. So tubes, it worked on from 1906 to 1950s. Then BJT come in the picture from 1947, and lots of research goes on till 1980s. But before this, before the ending of this BJT, MOSFETs come during 1960, and until now, the lots of work is going on this, and the work is going on spintronics, biosensor, and different type of displays. In spintronics, the devices will be based on the spin of the electronics. Different devices will come on the basis of this. And biosensors, you already know about the biosensors, like it can sense the heartbeat, blood pressure, diabetes, etc. And different type of displays are in the process, like these displays. These displays are LED and LCD displays, and some more displays are in the process. So this much is about the evolution of the electronic devices. But if I want to use the BJT to amplify this the signal to kilowatt, so this is not possible to amplify the signal to kilowatt with the help of the BJT or with the help of the MOSFET. This is not possible. So if we give the very high power voltages to BJT and MOSFETs, then these will start dissipating lots of power and goes into the thermal runaway. That is that they may reach to the avalanche breakdown. So the amplification process will not be completed with the help of this BJT and MOSFET. So it is failed at kilowatt and megawatt. So we come back to the vacuum tubes. So there some changes are done in the vacuum tubes, and these tubes will be used as microwave tubes. So today's lecture is about the microwave tubes. I wrote down here all different types of microwave diodes. You can see a tunnel diode, gun diode, impact diode. These diodes can do the rectification at microwave signals, but this is not possible to do the rectification at very high power. Here the different microwave transistors are heterojunction transistor, MOSFET, HEMT, NMOS, PMOS, CMOS, charge coupled devices. Different type of amplifiers are written here, but all these amplifiers are working on 1 minute. So these transistors cannot be used at kilowatt and megawatt. So we move on the microwave tubes. These tubes give the power and amplification and the oscillation or generation of the microwave signals at kilowatt to megawatt. Magnetron generate the microwave signals at megawatt. So this is a classification of the microwave tubes, linear beam devices, cross-field devices. In the linear beam devices, there are two types, resonant cavity and slow wave structure type. So, so you can see the linear beam devices are of two types, resonant cavity and non-resonant cavity type, that is slow wave structure. In resonant cavity type, the interaction of the electron beam and the electromagnetic field, the interaction is very less. But in the slow wave structure, the interaction of electron beam with the microwave field, it is high as compared to the resonant cavity. So this is the difference between these two. Now the types of the resonant cavity are klystron amplifier and reflex klystron. The klystron amplifier, as the name is specifying, this is doing the amplification, and reflex klystron is an oscillator. Next one is a slow wave structure. The classification is forward wave, helix, traveling wave tube, coupled cavity, traveling wave tube. And next is backward wave amplifier and backward wave oscillator. There is one more type of microwave tubes, cross field devices. And this magnetron comes and cross field amplifiers. Magnetron is very important. It is used at radar, at microwave oven, and at different places, like for the satellite communication. Similarly, the reflex klystron is also used for the satellite communication, for radar, for UHF television transmission. So these microwave tubes are very important for the communication point of view. So I'm moving on. I am not taking conventional tubes since I have already taken conventional tubes in your class. So the klystron amplifier. These are the applications of klystron tube or microwave tubes: radar communication, satellite communication, electronic warfare, directed energy weaponry, material processing, waste remediation, ozone generation, and atmospheric purification of admixture like fronds that destroy the ozone layer. So this is the classification. Now I want to talk about the linear beam devices. Actually, in this, the electron beam is continuous and continuously interacted with the interaction region. The examples are klystron and traveling wave tube. In cross field devices, the electric and magnetic field are orthogonal, that is perpendicular to each other. Example is magnetron and cross field amplifier. The application of these two are in MTI radar, in pulse compression radar, the pulse Doppler radar, and number of radars. So the magnetron, this magnetron is used in microwave oven also and satellite communication also. So this crossfield device and linear beam devices both are very important. The conversion efficiency is output power divided by DC input power. So this is the conversion efficiency. You can say simple efficiency, and efficiency of these tubes are varying from 10% to 60%. Now come to the two cavity klystron. In this you can see the introduction of the two cavity klystron. Then we will take about the construction of the two cavity, and then about the two cavity amplification, then performance characteristics and application. So klystron is a vacuum tube that can be used either as a generator or as an amplifier or as an oscillator at microwave frequencies. So klystron is an amplifier. It can be used as an amplifier and as an oscillator also. So klystron is linear beam device that the electron beam flow in a straight line and focused by the axial magnetic field. The velocities of the electrons which are emitted from the cathode are modulated. So this modulation of velocity of electron is called velocity modulation, and it produces a density modulated electron beam. So you can see here the schematic diagram of the two cavity klystron. Yeah. This is the cathode, and the negative terminal of the battery is connected to the cathode, positive terminal of the battery is connected to the anode. This is the anode or the collector. Here this is the filament to heat up this cathode. This is the resonant cavity connected here. One more resonant cavity is connected. The first resonant cavity is called buncher cavity. The next resonant cavity is called catcher cavity. The electron beam moves from buncher cavity to catcher cavity. So this space is called drift space. Here the microwave input is fed to be amplified, and from here the microwave output is taken. From the catcher cavity output is taken, and at the buncher cavity input is given. So when this heater is heated, so filament get heat up, and the electrons start emitting from the cathode, and these are starting to move to the buncher cavity. So this microwave input which is present in the buncher cavity this will create the field. Like if I'm taking a very small signal, actually this input, microwave input, having amplitude, very small amplitude, which is required to be amplified. So here this is having very small input. I'm just taking an example of this. Actually, this is the modulated waveform. And because of presence of velocity modulation of electron beam, the this microwave input is modulated, which is shown here. But I want to take only a simple small wave, one cycle of the wave, and I want to talk about this. If this is given here, like in this diagram, you can see in the applicate diagram, you can see here, this is the waveform. So in this waveform, you can see this is the actually microwave input signal, which is given to the Buncher cavity. So when there is no field, when the phase is zero of this microwave signal, and we are considering here the reference electron denoted by ER is emitted from the cathode and moving from the Buncher cavity. So the this electron don't change its velocity, which was earlier when electron emitted from the cathode. Now I'm considering there is early electron, it should be EE. The early electron which is phasing the positive field of this microwave signal. So these electrons will be accelerated and moving into the Buncher cavity. And there is one more electron I'm considering here, the late electron, it should be late, EL. L is subscript here. So late electron which is phasing the negative half cycle. So this electron will be retarded. The speed of this electron will be retarded, and because of this, the reference electron, late electron, and the early electron, these will be going to bunch up. That is accumulated. This accumulation of electron is called bunch. So the bunching take place, and this bunch of electrons start moving towards the catcher cavity, and this will give the energy to the radio frequency. So from here, the microwave signal, amplified microwave signal can be cached up or can be taken, and the electrons will be collected at the collector. So this is the complete working of the two cavity klystron. This diagram is called applicate diagrams. The meaning of this applicate diagram is the transition or the movement of the electron from Buncher cavity to catcher cavity. So with the help of this diagram, we can show this. The transition of the electron from Buncher cavity to catcher cavity. So now next, I want to talk about the calculation. I want to put this. Now come to the calculation of the two cavity klystron. So I want to show here this two cavity klystron calculation. In the two cavity klystron, it is considered that when electron enters into the first electrode to the Buncher cavity, at this time when the electron emit from the cathode and they start moving, and when they touch the first electrode of the Buncher cavity, at this time, let this be the time T0, when the electron beam touches the second electrode of the Buncher cavity, let this time be T1, and this is the drift space. So now I'm taking here when electron start moving, let the electron, the initial velocity of the electron, let it be V0. This is the initial velocity of the electron when they emit from cathode. And it depends on, this velocity depends on the DC voltage which is given to the to this cathode, this V naught, and it is given to the anode. This positive terminal is connected to the anode. So this depends on this. So the potential energy is equal to how much? The charge of the electron multiplied by this V naught is equal to this potential energy is equal to the kinetic energy, that is half of mv naught square. So take out the mv naught from here. So this is equal to twice of E V naught upon m, and uh, if I'm removing this square, so this becomes under root. So this is the velocity, initial velocity of the electron, of course depend on this DC voltage. So this is equal to approximately 0.593 into 10 raised to 6. Yeah, 10 raised to 6 meter per second. So this is the initial, with this initial velocity, electrons are moving and touch the buncher cavity first electrode. So I'm considering here this Vs, that is the input signal. Here the input signal is provided, the microwave signal is provided to this cavity. So let it be Vs here. So Vs is, let it be sine wave, sine omega t. Vs equal to V1 sine omega t. So V1 is the amplitude of this signal. V1 is the amplitude of input signal which is required to be amplified. Let it be V1. This much is the V1. So this V1 is actually very less than this DC voltage. So next I want to calculate when this electron touches the second electrode of the buncher cavity. I want to calculate the frequency, velocity of the electron. Let the velocity of the electron, let it be V1. This is the velocity of electron when they touches the second electrode of the buncher cavity. So I want to calculate this. So obviously half of mv1 square, this is the kinetic energy of the electron. This will be equal to the potential energy of the electron. So potential energy of the electron is equal to charge multiplied by what we have given. We have given V naught, and input is also given Vs. So E into V naught plus Vs. So this is actually the potential energy, and this is the kinetic energy when electron touches the second electrode of the buncher cavity. So moving on. Now see, put the value of Vs here. So half of mv1 square equal to E multiplied by V naught plus V1 sine omega t. Now calculate this V1 value here. V1 equal to twice of E upon m V naught plus V1 sine omega t under root of this. To remove this square, I have to put under root here. So this is the V1. Now take this V naught as common here. So I'm taking V naught as common here, 2E V naught upon m. So this becomes 1 plus V1 upon V naught sine omega t. Since we have taken V naught here, so V1 naught comes in the denominator, since here there is no V naught. So this value, this is actually what, under root of this much. Initially we have already seen this much value is twice of E V naught upon m. This is actually equal to V naught. We have already done this one. Small V naught equal to under root of twice of E V naught upon m. Now put this value in this equation here. see how now. Put this value here. So I can write this is equal to V naught. So V1 is equal to V naught multiply by under root of 1 plus V1 upon V naught sine omega t. Now this expression can be reduced with the help of the binomial expansion. According to the binomial expansion, the formula can be expanded. The expression can be expanded. So this is equal to, so I'm writing the formula of the binomial expansion 1 plus x raised to n. This is equal to 1 plus nx plus n into n minus 1 factorial 2 into x square plus and so on. So this is the binomial expansion formula. So I can write the last equation. What is the last equation? This is the last equation. You can see here. This is the last equation. So I can apply the binomial expansion in here. 1 plus V1 upon V naught sine omega t. The power is half. So I can write V naught into 1 plus half of half multiplied by V1 upon V naught sine omega t. So apply the binomial expansion here. I'm writing this expression again. V1 equal to V naught under root of 1 plus V1 upon V naught sine omega t. So apply the binomial expansion here. The power is half. So I can write V1 equal to V naught into 1 plus half. This half will come here. V1 upon V naught sine omega t. The higher terms, I'm neglecting these higher terms since these higher terms are very small as compared to these two terms. So I'm not taking these terms. So I reduce this expression with the help of this expansion. Now this is V1. This V1 is called velocity modulation equation. So this is velocity modulation equation. One more thing I want to discuss in this, the transit time period. That is like this time period, transit time period, that is electron from the one electrode to the another electrode from T0 to T1. That is the electron uh, when electron touches the first electrode at time T0 and when it reaches to the second electrode of the puncture cavity at time T1. So the difference between these two is the transit time period, that is electron taking the time from this electrode to this electrode. That is T1 minus T2. So I'm writing here T1 minus T2, let this be the average time, transit time period, let it be denoted by tau. So the time is equal to distance upon speed or the velocity. So I'm writing here distance upon velocity. So tau equal to T1 minus T0 and it is also equal to D upon V naught. Now if I want to calculate this, first this is the transit, average transit time period. This is average transit time period. Now next, I want to write average transit angle. This I can write with the help of tau. I can write here omega tau. Actually, what is theta? Theta is equal to omega t. So I'm writing here omega tau. So I want to write this theta. Let it be theta g. This is the average transit angle. Let it be denoted by theta g. So this is equal to omega tau. So this is equal to omega. Value of tau is T1 minus T naught equal to omega. The value of tau is D upon V naught. So this is the theta g that is the average transit angle equal to omega tau. This is equal to omega t1 minus t naught equal to omega d upon v naught. Now I want to write omega t1 value from here. So omega t1 is equal to how much? Take this omega t naught towards right hand side. So it is equal to omega t upon v naught plus omega t naught. So this is the omega t1. This average angle can be written as like half of the average angle, that is theta g by 2. I can write equal to omega, this one omega d upon v naught, and this is divided by 2 also. So this is the theta g by 2 equal to omega d upon 2 v naught. This is the average transit angle. So this much about the two cavity klystron. Tomorrow we will do next calculation.